Welcome everyone to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And this is a little bit of a rant. This is the time that I take to give you my opinions, and you take them or you leave them. Now, this is just my opinion, and I'm sure some of you will agree and some of you won't agree. But that's a great thing about this country. It's a great thing about having free speech is you get to give your opinion on things, and people either accept it or they don't. You can't expect everyone to agree with everything that you believe in. It's just not feasible. And I don't care how much people try to push it. It's never going to happen. We're never going to agree on everything. And until everyone accepts that, we can't move forward. And I'm going to try to start this new year off as best that I can and stay as positive as I can. And it's not always easy. We as much as you try to avoid it, you still kind of get pummeled with the negativity that goes on in this world. But we have to do everything we can to stay focused and on doing the right thing. See, we came to this country, and I say we, I mean the people that of that age that came here to get away from tyranny and authoritarianism. They wanted to do things the way they saw fit, and not everybody could agree on that. Now, okay, granted, I know the history, I know what happened, but you're going to have to face this fact too. You see, people have come into different areas, different lands, and the strongest took over, and they made things the way they wanted because that's just the way it was. And that's been going on since nearly the beginning of time. So, yes, granted, maybe the things that they did were wrong. That's the way things were. And I'm sorry to say, things are still kind of like that now. It's just, it's taken a different form, I guess. That's the way things are. The strongest survive. And we have to stay strong if we're going to survive all this. But we've fought for our freedoms since we started this country. You know, I'm trying to do this in a positive way. It's not always easy, but I do recall watching an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold, you're entitled to your opinions, but he basically said, F your freedoms. Okay, that's your opinion on it. But no, don't give up your freedoms. I don't care what it is that you're believing in, don't give up your freedoms. Don't try to bring an authoritarian way of thinking, because that's not freedom. I'm trying not to get off track here. It's kind of hard not to go down that rabbit hole, if you know what I mean. You see, we fought for freedom of religion, for free speech, the right to arm ourselves, not to be to have illegal search and seizures done on you. I mean, there's so many of these rights and freedoms that we have fought for. And I guess the one I'm trying to focus on today is that freedom of speech. See, I don't have to like what you say. You don't have to like what I say, but we should be allowed to say those things. If somebody doesn't agree with you, they don't have to listen to you. I watched a special this weekend. It was a documentary about comedy. But in the 60s, there was a comic. His name is Lenny Bruce. And this guy would get arrested for saying cuss words. So that made me think how speech has been oppressed since the beginning, but we've fought to get a little bit more speech and a little bit more speech. So why are we trying to go backwards? Why are we trying to give up rights? We fought so hard. Well, I say we. I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't there. But the generations before us have fought to have let us have the things that we have right now. So here's a guy that would get arrested just for cuss words. We fought against censorship. So why are we trying to cause censorship? I don't get it. The generation before us fought so hard for us to get a little further ahead, and now we're trying to go backwards. Why are we giving these things up? Why do we want to have a dictator over us? Why do we want the things that are said to be suppressed? So you can't have it both ways. It doesn't work that way. If you allow the people you disagree with to not be able to say the things that they say, then that's not true freedom. That's not free speech. But I'm sorry, you can't expect everybody to agree with you. I'm going to make that and stress that point over and over again. Yeah, I don't particularly like what some politicians say. I don't like it. So I don't listen to them. I'll let you give your point. If I don't agree with it, I don't listen to it anymore. Now, does that mean that I'm just not going to listen to anything anybody has to say? I'm willing to have a discussion if you're willing to have it in a civil manner. And there's a lot of things that I used to believe, 40 years ago, that's much different the way I think right now. And here's another point I wanted to make too. If you want to change people's minds, don't call them names and tell them they're stupid and just, not willing to even listen at all. So once you start doing that, then people are going to just cut you off completely. They're definitely not going to listen to you. That's one reason why I don't listen to a lot of these people that want to call me stupid and all kinds of different labels they want to give me. And I know that I'm not these things, but if you're going to call me those things, then I'm not willing to listen at all. If you're willing to do things in a loving manner, I'm going to be a little bit more apt to listen. That's how my wife has gotten through to me, is if we have a disagreement, instead of escalating it, she uses love and understanding. And I'm willing to do the same thing. That way we can get on the same page. And even if there's something that we just cannot agree on, we do things in a way that we can both walk away happy and not be bitter towards each other. And I wish that the world could be that way. Something else that I was thinking about too was, sometimes there are just facts that we have to accept, and that our feelings don't really matter in that sense. That, some things are just a fact. Okay, Tom Brady, as much as I may not like him, for whatever reason, still one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, because you look at his record. Okay, those are facts. It's not an opinion. He has more Super Bowls as a quarterback than other quarterbacks, or he just being there or in wins. Oxygen. We have to survive on oxygen. That is a fact. Can't change that. I'm not going to get too deep in this because I mean, facts are facts. Our feelings don't matter when it comes to facts. Doesn't matter how I feel about something. Facts are facts. We have to come to terms with that. But when it comes to certain decisions that have to be made, like with laws and things like that, that's when people have to sit down and they have to have a discussion. And that's, that's where compromise comes in. We have to learn to compromise on certain things, but you also have to understand that certain things are just the way they are. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. When there was scientists that they didn't they didn't go with what was actually being held as the truth at the time, like the earth was flat or the earth was the center of the universe and things like that. And you had scientists that went against the grain and they said, this is scientifically, this is what's real. The earth is round, the sun is the center of our universe and not the earth. They were shunned. I believe Galileo spent the rest of his life in isolation. But facts are facts. People had to accept that. It didn't matter what they felt. Facts were facts. I have different ways that I feel about things. I prefer chocolate ice cream over vanilla ice cream. That's something that you go with a feeling. There's no facts to base that on. I mean, I still like vanilla ice cream, but I mean, you get the point. I like rock music, but it's on certain days I feel like listening to soft rock, and some days I feel like listening to heavy metal. Those are feelings. There's no facts on that, and I can't force you to like the same things I do. See, my wife and I, we enjoy a lot of the same music, but one day I feel like listening to Kiss. She may feel like listening to Godsmack. Some days we like to listen to the same thing. I might want to listen to Chicago and she wants to listen to Metallica. But those are things that are chosen on feelings. I can't force those things on you. You can't force those things on me. You can come to a compromise. But the fact is, heavy metal and country are two different genres of music. You try to mix the two, but they're still not the same. Are the notes can be used a different way in one music or the other? Sure. But they're two separate. Maybe it's a bad analogy. I think you're getting the point that I'm trying to make here. The fact is, there's some things that are just going to be different. They're never going to be the same, no matter how you feel about them. It's just the facts are facts. Feelings are feelings. Feelings are going to change from day to day. The facts are not really going to change till you can prove me otherwise. Those facts are not going to change. Am I willing to listen? Of course. If you can give me scientifically why something is changed, I'm willing to listen to that. It doesn't matter how I felt about it. I'm trying to stay positive here, but I'm trying to convey that there are some things that just aren't going to change. Like when it comes to the science of, say, vaccines, okay, if you can prove to me why this one works and that one doesn't, or whatever, I'm willing to listen there. I am willing to change my mind on that. But when there's I've already given you examples of certain things that are just not going. I mean, gravity's going to be the same, I guess, unless we're knocked off our axis or something. But gravity is the law of gravity is the law of gravity. I don't know. There's certain. Listen, I might as well say it. I mean, boys are boys, girls are girls. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. If you feel like you're a girl and you're a boy, those are your feelings. Those aren't facts. You can't expect other people to go against the grain here, I guess, because you feel that way. I'm willing to listen to you. And if you want to be called something, I guess out of courtesy, I'll do that for you, because I'm not a mean person. I'm not going to just be intentionally rude to you just because. I try to be nice to everyone. So I'm willing to compromise in that sense, but I mean, you can't make me believe something that I know just isn't true. And if you feel that the opposite, that's the way you feel. I mean, facts are facts. I'm trying to be nice here. I really am. I don't want to make anyone feel bad for the things they believe. You could be a Catholic and you believe the Catholic religion. I could be a Baptist and believe the Baptist religion. We should be courteous to each other. What I believe is the truth, what you believe is the truth. I don't really have any true facts there, I guess. I don't know, this is all this life. It's all about sitting down and talking. We should sit down and have a conversation. Maybe you can change my mind on certain things. I'm willing to listen. And I'm also willing to let people voice their opinions. Because, see, when it comes to opinions on things, we have to be open minded there. We have to learn to be more open minded. We really do. But we also have to be willing to accept when things are a fact. Life is forever changing. The world's forever changing. Things are a lot different now than what they were when I grew up in the 70s and 80s. When I started having my own kids in the 90s. Here it is, 2020s. I've got grandkids. Life is so much different. Life could be beautiful if we're willing to have some kind of common ground. We spend so much time trying to be right. Sometimes I think we lose ourselves along the way. I'm willing to listen. If you can convince me of some things that I believe in that they're wrong, cool. There's a lot of things my dad taught me as I was growing up that I found out just weren't true. My feelings towards certain people, they changed when I got to know people. But I was willing to get to know people. People were willing to get to know me. My feelings are not the same as they were when I was, 10 years old to where I am now in my 50s. Things can change, but we have to be good people and we have to be compassionate. Otherwise, you're just being a bully. I mean, yeah, as I said before, as a species, we wanted to move into different territories. We took over that land and we forced people to believe the same things. Was it right? I don't know. That's part of our nature. I don't know. I don't think it's right, but things are the way they are. I don't know of anybody that's willing to up and leave the United States because there could have been things that just weren't done right. I mean, you want to get technical. Native Americans, they fought other over land, and one tribe took over another, and they either killed them off or they were forced to change their way of thinking, enslaved. I mean, there was all kinds of things that were not done very nicely, and everybody, I mean, every culture, there's a bad guy. We have to be willing to accept that and say, hey, you know what? Things were the way they were, but they don't have to stay that way. Yeah. Is there still racism? Of course there is. I think you're never going to drive that away, but you're definitely not going to drive it away if you're not using love. It's the only way you're going to change people's hearts. It's love. So we're going to do better. You know, I don't know. I would hope that we could be, but I just don't know. I would love to live in a utopia. And I can do what I can do to try to change things. And I hope that I can somehow change things. But I need to do it in a loving way, and I'm going to try my best. I don't want to be that person that's going to constantly put others down and call them names and things. That's not how you get things done. So you have to be compassionate. You have to understand that traditions and things like that, they're going to be different according to, your culture. Now, I appreciate other cultures, and there's certain things that I like to adapt in my life because I like the philosophy behind it, the morality behind it. So that's how, my life is molded, so I can appreciate those other cultures. Does that mean that I'm, part of that culture? No, but I can appreciate it. So there's things that we need to do as human beings to make things different. We want things to change. We have to be willing to change. And unfortunately, I see too many people that don't want to change, and they think just because they're being, I don't know, progressive or revolutionary, I don't know what the word is, that being that forcing the way you think or you feel onto others is going to change them. It's actually going to make things worse. You might be able to change a few people, but for the most part, I don't see it happening. I think we just have to learn to be compassionate with each other and be understanding. Just when I think I'm done recording, I think of something else to say. We have certain institutions in this country that we we need to separate, like our specific beliefs So, like school, for example, you wouldn't want the teacher to indoctrinate your children in religion and things like that. I mean, even though some parents would be like, sure, I want them to teach my kid Christianity and what have you. But there's some people out there that don't believe in that. So you wouldn't want to put your beliefs on them. That's when you need to keep those opinions to yourself. See, I mean, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, but if I was teaching an art class, I wouldn't make everybody in the class think that they had to be a Cowboys fan. That's kind of a goofy example, but I mean, I'm not going to tell my students, okay, let's say I was a Baptist. I'm going to say you need to believe my Baptist beliefs. When the parents like, hey, I'm a Catholic, or I'm a Jehovah's Witness, or things like that, there's certain beliefs you can't instill on children. And I'm sorry. I mean, I know you're passionate about certain things. I was passionate about church at one time, but I can't I can't convey that to like children in a setting where it's a public school or even the public library. I mean, I'll push books like reading, but I'm not going to push what you need to read. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm sorry. I know you're very passionate about the things you believe in. There's certain areas we need to keep it neutral. We can't push our feelings and beliefs on the children. Those aren't our kids. I'm here to teach you facts, how to read, how to write. I need to teach you history. And yes, all of it. I I can't I can't push how you should feel about it. Does that make sense? I may be very passionate about a war or something, or a specific part of history. I could tell you about it. I could try to invoke you to how do you feel about it? I can't influence how you feel about it. I can only provoke you to think about it. So yeah, I'm very open to everything, the good, the bad, the ugly of history, but not how you should feel about it. I could tell you this is what happened. The Japanese were put in camps here in America at one time. So this is what happened to the Japanese. This is what happened to the natives that were here. This is what happened over in another country. This is what happened to a specific group of people over there. How do you feel about it? This is, yeah. You tell somebody that something bad happened to another person or another group of people, that should teach them in itself that it was wrong. I can't tell you how to feel about it. You could probably sit there going, "You're crazy, man. Of course you need to tell them that it was wrong." It was wrong. Yeah. But I'm just here to tell you the facts. That's what school is for, just for the facts, not for your feelings. Your feelings don't matter. It's the facts that matter. This was done. How do you feel about it? But I can encourage you to be a good person. That's what citizenship is for. That's why when I was in school, we got graded on how we treated the teacher, how we treated other students, how we acted. That was encouraged for you to act the right way. Sorry if that doesn't resonate with you. I can tell you certain things about actual facts, provoke you to think about it, explain to you everything that happened. And that is the way things should be. There are certain rules that have to be set in institutions like school. It's the same as is in society. You're teaching them to be good citizens. That's what citizenship is all about. So you tell them, you treat other people with respect. You know what? You don't have to like little Johnny that sits on the last row over there. You don't have to like him, but you will treat him with respect when you're in our presence. And hopefully that will encourage them to treat them that way when they're not on the school ground. But you know what? That's what the law is for too. When you treat other people without any kind of respect, you will pay the consequences for that. When I say when you're robbing people or you're destroying their property, stealing from them, yeah, I don't have to like you. That's the one thing I think people don't understand. I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me. We have to respect one another. When you cross that line, I think someone needs to step in. Yes, I do. I definitely do. Now, if you disrespect somebody by saying you don't like them, sorry, that's not a whole lot I can do about that. But if you do something that causes them harm, that's when I feel I need to step in. These are things we have to learn to live with. Once again, compassion, showing people love, that's how you're going to change things. Forcing people, I mean, we've been trying to force people to do the right thing forever. And even with laws and rules, just can't seem to force people to do it. But I don't think you should be jailed because you feel a certain way. It's only when you bring harm to others, you take from them. That's when things need to be done. But just not liking somebody, lots of things to think about.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network